Chapter 16, Retaliation. At this moment, the bureau director finally came out of his office to the scene, with the instructor following behind him. Those young masters were still sitting there, expressing great grievances. The director's face ultimately squeezed out a smile as he came over and said, "Are there any misunderstandings?" A lawyer replied, "Director Liu, it's great that you are here. Please take a look at this. My client as well as his friends were all arrested last night. Look at their faces, they were clearly beaten. I hope you can give us an explanation. The little patrol officer under you arrested my client for God knows what, and he even used violence. Police officers aren't given the right to do that, right?" The director laughed and casted a look at Su Cheng. Su Cheng replied, "These people are guilty of a fray and they ignored my mediation. They proceeded to humiliate and insult us, and that young Master Yun guy spat at me. Under that kind of situation, I am allowed to fire to enforce the law, so what's the problem with just arresting him? Then, the other people surrounded me and tried to disrupt me from enforcing the law, so I just brought them all here." The lawyer, "Officer Su, right? Every sentence of yours made an accusation towards my client, so do you have the evidence?" "I'm a lawyer, once we get to court, we only need evidence." Seeing how aggressive the lawyers were being, the instructor pulled Su Cheng to the side and whispered, "Just cooperate and apologize, the director and I will cover you this time. Let's not blow this up. This time, too many people were involved, and you might have to face some consequences." Su Cheng was speechless. "Have me apologize? To these people?" His words were heard by those young masters in the cell, and young Master Yun snorted, "It's useless to apologize too. Since you guys enforce the law, then let's just follow the proper due process." Yun's lawyer nodded, and then he began accounting in a serious face. "First, the police officer's unjustified arrest caused my client mental damages, then, his overnight detention caused damage to his reputation and this will require compensation, plus all the physical injury. If the bureau doesn't want to blow this big and wants to deal with it privately, then we will ask 500,000 yuan for compensation." 500,000? The director and instructor's eyes widened. How in the hell will the bureau get this much funding? The lawyer nodded, "Yes." To young Master Yun, 500,000 was a number he gave after careful consideration. He knew it's not easy being a police officer, so he didn't want to demand an exorbitant price. This money is nothing to him, and it's already on the low end. The other lawyers nodded, "We agree. If the bureau wants to settle this privately, our clients all want 500,000 yuan in compensation." Everyone. The instructor was flabbergasted. "There are 12 of them, so 6 million? Where would the bureau find all this money to compensate you all?" The director smiled bitterly. Young Master Yun obviously knew that the bureau wouldn't be able to pay up, since he was just doing this to give enough pressure to force them to accept their second option. "Of course, the bureau also doesn't need to fully compensate us all, you can just let this officer Su who arrested us take the responsibility." All the officers looked towards Su Cheng. Who could compensate that amount? It was just too much. It seemed like the only possible solution was to separate themselves from the issue and push it onto the party that was involved. Of course, the director wasn't the type that would shirk his responsibility and push it onto someone and fire him. He walked to Su Cheng and whispered, "You just got here and are bound to make mistakes. Like the lawyer said, there's really no evidence that could prove what they did. Of course, police officers have the authority to bring people back and ask them to cooperate with an investigation. People of these backgrounds need special treatment, you should have just let them go at the scene but you actually brought them back. They got injured and were locked up for a night, it should be good enough now, just go apologize. The bureau doesn't have the money to pay that bill." He patted Su Cheng's shoulder. After talking, he smiled and went to young Master Yun and the others, "Everyone, how about this? I will personally apologize for what happened last night. It was the first shift of this subordinate of mine, and he didn't know many of the rules." Young Master Yun said with ridicule, "Newbies don't know the rules, that's why I'm teaching him a lesson so he can remember better. Otherwise it will take him a long time to familiarize himself with this new job. People need to pay for what they did wrong." The director awkwardly withdrew his smile and sighed, "But the bureau doesn't have enough money to compensate everyone." The lawyer, "That's simple. Just fire this troublemaker." Young Master Yun smiled. "How can we trouble Director Liu and the bureau? Just let the newbie take responsibility for what he did." I know that you guys are all hard workers on a dead-end job and there's not much funding just laying around. But I did get beat up, and I was also detained for a whole night. It's pretty embarrassing. If we just let this go after a verbal apology, my family probably won't let it go too, as it may affect our reputation. The director frowned. Su Cheng snorted, your lawyers are already here to pick you up, why are you still bitching? If you aren't leaving, believe it or not, I will detain you for another 15 days. Whoa, your tone is pretty domineering. You think you can just detain them at will? The lawyers all sneered with disdain. Young Master Yun pointed at Su Cheng and said to the director, did you hear that, Director Lu? This kind of employee will only cause trouble for you. Su Cheng, if I'm afraid of trouble, then I wouldn't have joined the police force. Okay. Young Master Yun gritted his teeth. Since you don't want to settle this privately, then I will have my lawyers go through the due procedures and sue this bureau. We won't be leaving too. We will wait here and see when the general office will come down and take care of this. My lawyer will be taking care of this, and the 12 of us will be staying here. You aren't leaving, right? Su Cheng snorted. That's good, then no one leaves. Lock them up, you guys can pick them up after 15 days. The lawyers all began shouting, Officer Su, your attitude is a problem. Police officers must abide by the law. My client is being unrightfully detained, and you even dare to imprison him for another 15 days? Can you even shoulder the consequences? Who said these guys are unrightfully detained? Su Cheng sneered. He walked to his office desk and pulled out a CD, shouting, come, take a look, this is the video I especially made a copy of for you guys when I visited the Transportation Bureau. It's shot from the street surveillance cam. I knew you guys would probably go and try to bribe them to erase the evidence, so yeah, my bad, I already made a copy of it the night I took them in. Come, let me show you guys the footage as well as the sound recording I have on my phone from that night. You guys can enjoy both the visual and audio footage, it will feel like you guys are there too. He began playing the street brawling footage with the sound he recorded with his phone, all synced up, and this directly changed the face of all the lawyers. Those dozen young masters were still behind bars wondering what they were watching, and they suddenly had a bad feeling when they saw their lawyers' faces changing. You guys want to blow it big, right? Sure, I will bring these with me when we go to court. Whoever still wants to cause more trouble, I will have the right to detain you as accomplice suspects, Su Cheng sneered. The lawyers' faces turned into the color of pig liver on the spot. This, young Master Yun's lawyer immediately came closer to Su Cheng, his expression changing drastically from smug to pleading. He said with a big ass-kissing smile, Mr. Su, I think we should just settle this privately. How about this, we will buy this evidence for 500,000 yuan.